Samanya Bhakti, the importance of Samanya Bhakti, what are the characteristics of Samanya Bhakti, Kleshagni, Shubhada. Samanya Bhakti means Bhakti in general. What are the benefits of performing Bhakti in general? So that elaborately we have studied in the first chapter. Now, second chapter describes about first the stages of devotion, that is sadhana, bhava, prema, then more elaborately on what is sadhana bhakti. How many types of sadhana bhakti is there? So it is 1.1.44, then you have 45, then you have 46, like 3 paragraphs you have, then 1.2.1 starts. So let us see the 1.1.44 verse. Agrato vakshyamānāyās tridhā bhaktir anukramat dishah shadbhihi padairetan mahatmyam mahatyam parikirtitam. The 3 types of bhakti will be explained one after the other. The greatness of bhakti is uniquely glorified by 6 qualities just mentioned. The 2 qualities appear in each type of bhakti. We saw Kleshagni, Shubhada in sadhana bhakti. Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Laguta Kruta, Sudurlabha in Bhava Bhakti. Then Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Laguta Kruta. Then you have Sudurlabha. Then Sandrananda Visheshatma and Sri Krishna, the Prema Bhakti. So 2 in each. Then, but previous 2s are also included. It's not just 2. Previous 2s are also included. So sadhana bhakti, from sadhana bhakti, one comes to the platform of nishtha. And slowly, it progresses to asakti. And when that asakti is there, then bhava bhakti appears. Without asakti, bhava bhakti cannot appear. And then slowly after bhava comes prema. Okay. Neeraj Prabhu reads the first paragraph.
Am I audible? Hare Krishna. So the first is Stages of Devotion, Chapter 2. The 3 categories of devotional service which Srila Rupa Goswami describes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu are listed as devotional service in practice, devotional service in ecstasy, and devotional service in pure love of Godhead. There are many subheadings in each of these categories. Generally, it is understood that in the category of devotional service in practice, which is sadhana bhakti, there are 2 different qualities. Devotional service in ecstasy has 4 qualities, and devotional service in pure love of Godhead has 6 qualities. These qualities will be explained by Srila Rupa Goswami later on. In this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami suggests...
Wait. Now yes. 45th verse. So Kleshagni Shubhada is now described in this verse. Okay. Now, Kimcha Swalpapi Ruchireva Syat Bhakti Tattvava Bodhika Yuktistu Kevala Naiva Yad Asya Apratishthita. You should mark in every paragraph which verse we are doing. Just take a pencil and mark. 1.1.45 this is second paragraph. It is said, even if a person has tasted swalpa, a little bhakti tattva bodhikaha, swalpapi means even though he has tasted a little topic of bhakti, he can understand. What he can understand? That he can understand the topic of bhakti. Even if he has tasted little, even if one has a little taste for the topic of bhakti, okay. Even if one has a little taste for the topic of bhakti, he can understand. That means even if a little taste is there, he can understand the topic of bhakti. But what is the use of understanding bhakti by some dry speculation? It is said where logics end, there bhakti begins. That is why Bhakti Vedanta, Vedas, where the logic of the Vedas end, there bhakti begins. That is why Bhakti Vedanta. Bhakti cannot be proven by our logics. Even if I try to beat our head, try to analyze with a scientific basis, we cannot do. Though some books are written, but bhakti is beyond science. Science is having logics, but bhakti doesn't have. Why a person is crying? What is the answer you will give? When he sees the deities, he cries. What is the answer you will give? So even if you try to beat your head also, you cannot understand. Like there was a great Acharya. He used to offer Krishna in his meditation. And once it so happened, he offered kheer just to test whether the kheer is very hot or not, or it is cold. He put his finger inside. And then he came out of the meditation. He saw his finger was really burnt. What answer will he give for this? So we cannot prove bhakti by our logical analysis. Okay, read. Continue, Neeraj Prabhu.
So in this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami suggests that the person eligible for Krishna consciousness or devotional service can be classified by his particular taste. He says that the devotional service is a continual process from one's previous life. No one can take to devotional service unless he has had some previous connection with it. For example, suppose in this life, I practice devotional service to some extent. Even though it is not 100% perfectly performed, whatever I have done will not be lost. In my next life, from the very point where I stopped in this life, I shall begin again. In this way, there is always a continuity. But even if there is no continuity, if only by chance a person takes interest in a pure devotee's instructions, he can be accepted and can advance in devotional service. Anyway, for persons who have a natural taste for understanding books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is easier than for those who are simply accustomed to mental speculation and argumentative processes. Very well.
A few devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, have we done something in the past? Prabhupada said, I have given Sukriti to you.
You have not done.
I have given Sukriti to you. So sometimes out of mercy of the spiritual master, it happens. And sometimes, yes, because of the previous life impressions, it can come. Like our small Naina Manjari is memorizing the shlokas, kat. It's not, then you try to analyze how it's happening. You will say, I'm giving badam, I am giving this and that, I'm nourishing the brains. No, it is previous life impressions which come. And now many children are given badam, many children are given everything. Why it's so? When she was so small, just one and a half must be. She put something in the mouth. I saw that. I tried, what did you put in the mouth now? She opened the mouth. See, whole Brahmanda is there in my mouth. I said, this is Leela. So it's not so easy to understand bhakti, to whom Krishna will give and how he carries in different lifetimes. Because bhakti is never lost. It is not some mundane knowledge. It is Krishna's love for Krishna. And it can come even for a small child. It can come at the age when a person is like 60, 70. It doesn't matter. At any age, if he has taken a devotional service, that is more important. Somebody is taking at the age of 1 year, 2 year, or in the womb, or somebody is getting at the age of 60. It doesn't matter. Most important is at least he started chanting the holy name. That is more important. In bhakti, there is no competition. Some may know 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. Somebody like a Brahmana who was in Srirangam, was not knowing how to read Bhagavad Gita. He was catching Bhagavad Gita upside down and he was crying. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, just because all people are laughing at you, that is why you're crying? He said, no. I am crying just thinking that how Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has assumed the role of a Parthasarathi. He has become a driver. So even an illiterate person who doesn't know anything also can be bestowed mercy by Krishna. One may know many shlokas, one may not know anything. It doesn't matter. Onto whoever Krishna has bestowed his mercy, bhakti sprouts in his consciousness. Onto whoever the spiritual master has bestowed the mercy, again, the bhakti sprouts. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasad. To get spiritual master is also mercy of Krishna. And to get Krishna is mercy of spiritual master. So both things are important. That is how we are singing every day in the morning. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kuto. There is no other mercy beyond this. Okay, the last one.
To support this statement.
Wait. Tatra prachinair api uktam yatnena patato api artha kushalair anu matrabihi abhiyuktatair tarair anyir anyathaivo papadyate. So concerning this topic, there are many arguments done by many logicians. Some say this is right. Somebody will say this is right. They'll try to prove what is right, what is wrong. So some may be very skillful in their logics. They may try to prove with their intelligence. Bhakti is taken by the instructions of authorities, not the munis who are arguing among each other. They cannot give bhakti. Only a sampradaya teachings, and that too given by authorities, can give. Okay, read.
So, to support this statement, there are many authoritative assertions by the learned scholars of bygone ages. According to their general opinion, a person may become governed by certain convictions derived by his own arguments and decisions. Then another person, who may be a greater logician, can nullify these conclusions and establish another thesis. In this way, the path of argument will never be safe or conclusive. Srimad Bhagavatam recommends, therefore, that one follow in the footsteps of the authorities.
That is why sampradaya teachings, taking the shelter of authority, is more important. Now, the second wave. In this book, the second wave starts. The first wave was a Samanya Bhakti. Now, second wave, we have studied 4 waves are there: Samanya, Sadhana, Bhava, and Prema. About Samanya, we studied now first wave, now second wave. Sa Bhakti Sadhanam Bhava Prema Cheti Tridodita. 1.2.1 speaks about it. There are 3 types of bhakti: sadhana, bhava, prema. Sadhana, bhava, prema. Jiva Goswami's commentary is actually there are only 2 types: sadhana and sadhya. Sadhya is prema. Why we need 3 types? Sadhana, bhava, prema. Just to have more better understanding that prema cannot be attained without bhava, and bhava cannot be attained without sadhana, because sadhana will lead to asakti. Sadhana is done in 2 levels. One is without asakti and one is with asakti. So without asakti is just because spiritual master has told, I am chanting 16 rounds in sadhana bhakti. But slowly, I start cultivating love for Krishna. When that love for Krishna comes, then I don't need an alarm to wake up in the morning. Before that, I have to wake up. So, jabardasti. What is this? I have to wake up by 4:30. wake up by 5 o'clock. So though I don't want to, but I have to follow. But then you don't need an alarm because you're inclined to serve Krishna. Now service is there. Sadhana involves service by our senses. Now sadhana is not just at the emotional level. Sadhana is at the practical level. Bhava, asakti, they are all at the emotional level. But at the practical level means utilizing the senses in both. That is, sadhana done out of regulatory principles, or you can say Vaidhi Bhakti. And one is Raganuga Bhakti. That is also sadhana bhakti only. Which I am having raga. Raga means attachment. But I am performing my sadhana. Waking up early in the morning, I perform my sadhana. And slowly with that Raganuga, slowly performing Vaidhi Bhakti and coming to the platform of attachment to Krishna, that matures to asakti. And when it matures to asakti, it leads to bhava. And bhava leads to prema. So that is why it is said here, though sadhana and then sadhya. Sadhya means goal. And the goal again has 8 categories, out of which only 2 has been mentioned, that is bhava and prema. But beyond prema, there are many more. There is pranaya, sneha, raga, mana, anuraga, mahabhava, mana, getting angry over Krishna. Only Radharani can do that. Mana bhava, anuraga, mahabhava. So all this again, I am describing from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sudha Mataji, I am describing from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, then we will come to NOD. So, in the category of sadhya, understand 2 aspects, sadhana, sadhya. Sadhana means practice out of some attachment to rules and regulations, and practice out of instructions given by the spiritual master. And second is practice out of attachment to Krishna. That is Raganuga. Now, practice and then what is perfection? Attaining Krishna Prem. Now that Krishna Prem has 8. It starts with bhava, bhava, prema, ma, then all other things will come. Pranaya, sneha, raga. Anyhow, you don't have to know now because we are in the eastern section now. That all will come later, not in this course, later. What is pranaya, what is sneha, what is raga, what is mana, what is anuraga, what is mana, what is mahabhava prakash. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed mahabhava prakash, 8 ecstatic symptoms. All those things will come. So bhakti has 3 types, sadhana, bhava, prema. Okay, Krishna Priya Mataji, read from here. The voice is not audible.
Yes, Mataji. Here is a general description of devotional service given by Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Previously, it has been stated that devotional service can be divided into 3 categories, namely devotional service in practice, devotional service in ecstasy, and devotional service in pure love of God. Now, Sri Rupa Goswami processes to describe devotional service in practice. Practice means...
One minute. Devotional service in practice, that is sadhana bhakti, now we'll be describing. Here Rupa Goswami is going to describe what is sadhana bhakti. Tatra sadhana bhakti, kriti sadhya 1.2.2. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sa sadhana bida nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam mridhi sadhyata. Sadhana bhakti is described. Actions of the senses which produces the stage of bhava is called sadhana. actions of the senses which produces bhava for Krishna. Without action, how bhava will come? Bhava is at the emotional level. So what is sadhana? Actions of the senses. Without actions, how will you love someone? But to serve now. When you serve, naturally you're employing your senses. So what is sadhana? Employing your senses so that one reaches the stage of bhava. So this stage of bhava is an eternal sthai bhava, which is not created, but simply manifests within the soul of the spiritual energy of the Lord. This is known as sthai bhava. Now, let us understand. When performing sadhana, sometimes tears flow. Still, we are not free from our anarthas. I got some shraddha. I went to a sadhu. Sadhu gave me bhajan. While performing bhajan, sometimes I cry. Immediately, we should not understand, oh, I am at bhava stage. Bhava is the stage where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, your hair stand erect. When will I cry? Nayanam garadashtu dharaya, vadanam gadgadudayagira, pulakair nichitam vapu kada tava nama grahani bhavishyati. When that stage will come, when I continuously cry while chanting the holy name. Now also we are crying. For what reason? Oh, what is this? I have to sit and chant 16 rounds. There also devotee cries. Already I'm getting late to office. Why did I take initiation? It's too horrible. I have to somehow complete 16 rounds. I have to wake up early in the morning. No time to sleep. I am so fed up. So that is one type of cry. And sometimes maybe he is sincere chanting and all those things. I have to open the door. Just wait. Yeah. So sometimes you go to temple, seeing the beauty of the Lord, a tears flow. Then immediately you should not come to a conclusion, oh, this is my bhava stage. That is just sthai bhava, asthai bhava, not sthai, asthai bhava. Asthai bhava means it will come and afterwards it will vanish. The moment you see some pizzas in the Govinda's counter, whatever you had, some bhava, everything vanishes. Now bhava towards pizza is there. So it is flickering. Asthai bhava. It goes on changing. Sthai bhava means his bhava towards Krishna is fixed. It is not created. It is fixed. And that can only happen when asakti, ruchi asakti develops for Krishna, and that can come only by mercy of Krishna. Okay, read from here. Krishna Priya. This 1.1.2 goes to the in 3 paragraphs. You read where I tell you to stop, there you stop. Read.
Okay. Practice means employing our senses in some particular type of work. Therefore, devotional service in practice means utilizing our different sensory organs in service of Krishna. Some of the senses are meant for acquiring knowledge, and some are meant for executing the conclusions of our thinking, feeling, and willing. So practice means employing both the mind and the senses in practical devotional service. This practice is not for developing something artificial. For example, a child learns or practices to walk. This walking is not unnatural. The walking capacity is their originality in the child. Simply by a little practice, he walks very nicely. Similarly, devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the natural instinct of every living entity. Even in uncivilized men, like the aborigines of fur, their respectful obeisances to something wonderful exhibited by nature's law. And they appreciate that behind some wonderful exhibition or action, there is something supreme. So this consciousness, though lying dormant in those who are materially contaminated, is found every living entity. And when purified, this is called Krishna consciousness. There are certain prescribed methods for employing our senses and mind in such a way that our dormant consciousness for loving Krishna will be evoked. As much as the child, with a little practice, can begin to walk. One who has no basic walking capacity cannot walk by practice. Similarly, Krishna consciousness cannot be aroused simply by practice. Actually, there is no such practice. When we wish to develop our innate capacity for devotional service, there are certain processes which, by our accepting and executing them, will cause that dormant capacity to be evoked. Such practice is called sadhana bhakti. Every living entity under the spell
One minute. Here let us explain. This paragraph is very important. Srila Prabhupada wants to say. So there are prescribed methods for employing our senses and mind in such a way our dormant Krishna consciousness will be invoked. Now child knows to walk. You just have to in the initial little practices given. One who has no basic walking capacity cannot walk by practice. Similarly, Krishna consciousness cannot be aroused simply by practice. Actually, there is no such practice. It is our desire. The moment we desire to love Krishna, then automatically we start following the practices or the rules and regulations. Or is Prabhupada standing with a stick? Hey, you're not waking up early in the morning. Who has forbidden us to not eat anything in the restaurant? Why we are not doing that? Is anybody coming behind that you should not eat? We can eat, no? That means our inner consciousness is not allowing us to do that. It is our inner consciousness. If that is strong and that is willing to accept the rules and regulations, then one can progress in Krishna consciousness. It is not just I'll practice, then only I can do devotional service. It's not practice. It is our dormant desire. The more I desire to love Krishna, the more I'll follow the rules and regulations. It is not by force. Sometimes they say, no, we have not trained our children in Krishna consciousness. We have not trained ourselves. No. I did not have desire at that age. Simple. I had the desire at the age of maybe 30, 40 years. Then the moment we desire, Krishna bestows the mercy. It's just our desire. That's why Srila Prabhupada writes, when we wish to develop our innate capacity for devotional service, there are certain processes by which executing them will cause our inner dormant capacity to be invoked. It's just our desire. I would have desired to drink cigarettes. I would have desired to drink liquors. I would have desired to go to cinema malls. There also Krishna did not stop us because we have a free will. But the moment we desire to practice Krishna consciousness, or sometimes I may not desire, my friend may desire for me. Oh, he's rotting in this material world. Let me take him to Krishna consciousness. So he becomes our Patapadaksha Guru. So in this way, it has been given here. Okay, read further.
Every living entity under the spell of material energy is held to be in an abnormal condition of madness. Srimad Bhagavatam, in Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, generally the conditioned soul is mad because he is always engaged in activities that are the causes of bondage and suffering.
Okay,
The
yesterday
spirit
I
soul.
gave you one homework. 1 minute. Yesterday I gave you one homework. The Lakshana of Shubhada. Did you find out where it is? Anybody found out? Which is that verse? The Lakshana of a devotee. He is dear to everyone and everybody becomes dear to him. Auspiciousness. Did not find? Okay. Keep it in mind. Tomorrow can I ask? Either in second chapter, third chapter, fourth chapter, fifth chapter. You have to search. And then search this verse also. In which verse Krishna speaks about? This is the purport given. In the purport, this verse has been put. The conditioned soul is mad.
माताजी हम सर्व प्रवर्तो मतो इति मत्वा भजन्ते माम बुधा भाव समन्विता. I think that one.
What?
Sloka.
Verse number. Verse number.
Oh, sorry, I forgot the verse number, but I think that
10.8, Mataji, 10.8.
No.
This is 10.8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu.
I have not told that. I told become dear to all and he becomes dear to everyone. That one.
5.7.
Huh? 5? Yes.
5.7.
Yes. 5th chapter, 7th verse. Where Krishna says that a devotee is dear to everyone and everybody becomes dear to him. Now, in Bhagavatam, this also quotation has been put. Nunam pramattaha. Where it is put, just see. Which verse speaks? Nunam pramatta. Open verse quoted in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavatam verse quoted. So don't think that you have completed your Bhagavad Gita. Close the book. Open Bhagavad Gita behind. I have given the clue. It is Nunam Pramattaha. Where it is. Okay, still somebody searches. You're searching or what you are doing? Behind you have now Srimad Bhagavatam verses, quoted verses in Bhagavad Gita. Open Bhagavad Gita.
It is Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.4.
In which verse Prabhupada speaks this in Bhagavad Gita? In which verse this verse has been spoken?
Just a minute.
Nunam pramatta. Open. Just go behind. I think still you have to again do.
5.2. 5.2. It is quoted in 5.2.
Okay, 5.2. What is written there?
Sanyas Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sanyasaha Karma Yogascha Nishreya Sakara.
In that verse, Bhagavatam verse is quoted. Nunam pramattah kurte vikarma yadindriya priteya apranoti. Nasado manye etatmanoyam asannapi kleshata the asah deha. So, who is mad? One who is behind sense gratification. Yad indriya priteya apnoti. But na sadhu manye. Sadhus are not interested in all these things. Asanapi kleshada asadeha. They know this is only going to produce klesha. So in 5.2, this verse has been quoted. Okay, go further.
The spirit soul in his original condition is joyful, blissful, eternal, and full of knowledge. Only by his implication in material activities has he become has he become miserable, temporary, and full of ignorance. This is due to vikarma. Vikarma means action which should not be done. Therefore, we must practice sadhana bhakti, which means to offer Mangala Arati in the morning, to refrain from certain material activities, to offer obeisances to the spiritual master, and to follow many other rules and regulations that will be discussed here one after the other. This practice will help one become cured of madness. As a man's mental disease is cured by the direction of a physiotherapist. So this sadhana bhakti psychiatrist, sorry. So this sadhana bhakti cures the conditioned soul of his madness under the spell of Maya, material illusion.
Okay, stop. Over. Till here, 1.2.2 has been described. Yeah. So sadhana bhakti means performing the activities prescribed by our acharyas. Acharyas know how to make a person progress in devotional service. They give us the task. Actually, Prabhupada has given the task. Wake up early in the morning, chant 16 rounds, offer Mangalarti. So acharyas, they know how to engage the devotees and bring them close to Krishna. Now 1.2.3 and 1.2.4. Everything is there in this paragraph. Both 1.2.3 is also there, 1.2.4 is also there. Two paragraphs specify that. I'll read both the lines. Sa bhakti saptamasang skande bhangya devarshinodita. Narada is going to speak about sadhana bhakti along with the items that seem to be bhakti in the 7th canto. Speaks of sadhana bhakti along with items that seem to be bhakti in the 7th canto. Okay. So in the 7th canto, there is a verse which says, by enmity, by Vaidhi bhakti, by fear, by affection, by lusty desire, by all of these, or any one of them, if a conditioned soul somehow or other concentrates his mind on Krishna, the result is the same. For the Lord, because of his blissful position, he is never affected by enmity or friendship. So this was the, in the 7th canto, if you see the first chapter, this is there. Like fear and hatred is there. That person is also thinking about Krishna only. But still we have learned what is Uttama Bhakti. That is Anukula Bhava, not Pratikula Bhava. Because here this whole verse is a complete contradiction to Anukulyena Sankalpa, or we just now read Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadhyanavrtam, Anukulyena Krishna Anushilna Bhakti Uttama. But anyhow, even if he is remembering Krishna by fear or hatred, somehow or other he is concentrating on Krishna. Still he will be benefited. That has been given. But that cannot be categorized as Uttama Bhakti. In the 1.2.4, Yatha Saptame 7.1.32. Tasmat kenapi upayena mana Krishne niveshayet. Somehow, tasmat kenapi upayena, somehow or the other, think of Krishna. In 7.1.32, it has been given. Somehow think of Krishna, either by Vaidhi Bhakti or by lust like gopis, affection like the family members, or family relationship. Somehow think of Krishna by any of these methods. But then again, Jiva Goswami puts in the comment, but without enmity, fear, hatred, one should fix the mind on Krishna. Though the verse is said in 7.1.26, it is said, by enmity or by fear or by affection or by lusty desires, they attain Krishna. Like Shishupal had so much of hatred towards Krishna, but he got Sauchya Mukti. Kamsa, he got liberated. So the question was that why Vena did not get? All of them got. But why Vena did not get the same position like Shishupal? In this, the question is asked. Because Vena did not have that type of hatred towards Krishna. He was a cruel person. Even that hatred also should be one-pointed. Now in the Kali Yuga, people love Krishna for their benefit. Afterwards, they start neglecting Krishna. But Kamsa was not like that. If you want to hate also, you should hate like Kamsa. See Krishna everywhere as his killer. He has not lost Krishna even for a fraction of a second. So if you want to hate Krishna, hate like Kamsa. But Vena, on the other hand, he was a cruel person. That is why all the sadhus, they churned him. They killed his body and churned his body, and from there Prithu Maharaj comes. Prithu Maharaj is devotee of Krishna's incarnation only. Krishna Samhara Shakti Avesh Avatar. So if you want to hate, you should hate like Kamsa, but that is not been recommended. Jiva Goswami says, love Krishna in a favorable way. Do not think about unfavorable way, because we cannot do it also. We cannot do like Kamsa. We cannot do like Ravana. So better is we don't try to imitate them. Because when we want, we accept Krishna. When we don't want, we reject Krishna. When we want, we will be chanting so many rounds because we are in need. And when the need is over, we forget. So that is why it is said, better fix the mind in either lust, affection, family relation, Vaidhi Bhakti, but without any hatred. And what is the meaning of fixing the mind? Employing our senses in Krishna's service. That is known as fixing the mind at the level of Vaidhi Bhakti. That is Sadhana Bhakti. At the level of Sadhana Bhakti, what is the meaning of fixing the mind? You cannot meditate. I cannot imitate big acharyas. Oh, he is offering in the mind. I will also offer in the mind. Why I should keep all the plate and all? I can do that in the mind only. Acharyas were doing in the mind and eating in the mind only. We cannot just offer in the mind and then start eating. So better is employ our senses in Krishna's service. Some people say, where Lord eats, we can offer by mind also. Yeah, you offer by mind, you eat by mind only. Don't eat physically. So we cannot imitate our great acharyas. Better is employ our senses in Krishna's service, and that is fixing up the mind. Okay, Aneja Prabhu, read from here. Narad Muni mentions.
Yes. Narad Muni mentions this sadhana bhakti in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 1st chapter, verse 32. He says there to King Yudhishthir, my dear king, one has to fix his mind on Krishna by any means. This is called Krishna consciousness. It is the duty of the Acharya, the spiritual master, to find the ways and means for his disciple to fix his mind on Krishna. That is the beginning of sadhana bhakti. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us an authorized program for this purpose, centered around the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. This chanting has so much power that it immediately attaches one to Krishna. That is the beginning of sadhana bhakti. Somehow or other, one has to fix in mind on Krishna. The great saint Ambrish Maharaj, although a responsible king, fixed his mind on Krishna, and similarly, anyone who tries to fix his mind in this way will very rapidly make progress in successfully reviving his original Krishna consciousness. Now this sadhana bhakti.
Okay, wait. 1.2.5. Vaidhi Raganuga Cheti Sadvidha Sadhana Vida. So sadhana also bhakti also has two types. Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. What is Vaidhi Bhakti? Following different rules and regulations because the Guru Maharaj is ordered it. And one is out of spontaneous love. Okay. Narayana, read from here.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us an authorized.
Not from next paragraph. Now this sadhana bhakti.
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah. Now, this sadhana bhakti or practice of devotional service may be divided into two parts. The first part is called service according to regulative principles. One has to follow these different regulative principles by the order of the spiritual master or on the strength of authoritative scriptures, and there are no questions of refusal. That is called Vaidhi or regulated. One has to do it without argument. Another part of sadhana bhakti is Raganuga. Raganuga refers to the point at which, by following the regulative principles, one becomes a little more attached to Krishna and executes devotional service out of natural love. For example, a person engaged in devotional service may be ordered to rise early in the morning and offer arati, which is a form of deity worship. In the beginning, by the order of the spiritual master, one rises early in the morning and offers arati, but then he develops real attachment. When he gets this attachment, he automatically tries to decorate the deity and prepare different kinds of dresses and things of different plans to execute his devotional service nicely. Although it is within the category of practice, this offering of loving service is spontaneous. So, the practice of devotional service, sadhana bhakti, can be divided into two parts, namely regulative and spontaneous.
There is Vaidhi and Raganuga. You should know the words also. Vaidhi and Raganuga.
Raganuga.
Now, 1.2.6. Tatra Vaidhi. Now, what is Vaidhi? Yatra Ragana Vaptatva Pravrittir Upajayate Shasanenaiva Shastrasya Sa Vaidhi Bhaktiruchyate. So when the actions of bhakti arise, not from the attainment of raga, but by the teachings of the scriptures, it is called Vaidhi Bhakti. Just because the scriptures, Vaishnava etiquette books, scriptures are mentioning, that is why he is doing. It is not done out of raga or attachment. It is just because he is following the rules given in the scriptures or given by his spiritual master. So it is in Jiva Goswami's commentary, it is said, Vaidhi Bhakti is restricted to cases where Bhakti is performed by teachings of the scriptures. In the scriptures it is there, and I have faith in the scripture, I follow the scriptures. With attainment of raga, there will also be some use of scriptural teachings as well, but it is not called Vaidhi Bhakti. So Vaidhi means Vidhi, understand nicely. Vidhi is given where rules are given. Vidhi means rules. It is given in the scriptures. And he follows the scriptures. Raga, he also follows, no doubt. But that is out of attachment. Spontaneous. Okay. 1.2.6. A small paragraph. Okay, Narayana, continue.
Rupa Goswami defines the first part of devotional service or Vaidhi Bhakti as follows. When there is no attachment or no spontaneous loving service to the Lord, and one is engaged in the service of Lord simply out of obedience to the order of the spiritual master or in pursuance of the scriptures, such obligatory service is called Vaidhi Bhakti.
Okay, now 1.2.7. Yatha Dvitiye 2.1.5. This is from second canto, first chapter, fifth verse. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shottavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyascha Chechathabhyaham. So, O King Bharat, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries. So it is said, a person who desires freedom from fear of samsara, he should hear about Krishna. So this Shrotabhya, Smartabhya, Kirtitabhya, Smartabhya, they are all given in the rules of scriptures. So this will be extinguishing the fear of samsara. The actions are not generated due to the greed for Lord's service. Thus, this is an example of Vaidhi Bhakti. Now, I read, oh, my all miseries will be removed just by hearing about Krishna, chanting his name, remembering him. Then I started following him. I did not do because I have greed to serve. No. I had the desire to remove my misery. That is why I am chanting. So understand, scriptures are followed when there is a necessity. At that time, he follows the scriptures, he follows the rules. Oh, my all miserable situations can go away. Oh, I'm so sick. I should actually chant that my sickness will go away. So there is a motive. Vaidhi Bhakti has a motive. There is no motive of having greed for service. There is an inner motive for themselves. Fear of samsara is also there. It is said, oh, this fear of samsara can be completely extinguished. Oh, I can come out of birth and death cycle. That is why he is performing. And this is given in the scriptures, so he is doing. So very clearly, Jiva Goswami Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, there is no greed for service. He is not doing for that. Okay. So Vaidhi Bhakti has been categorized. What is Vaidhi? Now the Raga Nuga will be categorized. Okay. Jumur, read this. From here you read.
I will read for her. She's taking care of my ministry.
Okay, you read.
These principles of Vaidhi Bhakti are also described in Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, first chapter, fifth verse, where Sukadev Goswami instructs the dying Maharaj Parikshit as to his course of action. Maharaj Parikshit met Sukadev Goswami just a week before his death, and the king was perplexed as to what should be done before he was to pass on. Many other sages also arrived there, but no one could give him the proper direction. Shukadev Goswami, however, gave this direction to him as follows. My dear king, if you want to be fearless in meeting your death next week, for actually everyone is afraid at the point of death, then you must immediately begin the process of hearing and chanting and remembering God. If one can chant and hear Hare Krishna and always remember Lord Krishna, then he is sure to become fearless of death, which may come at any moment.
Okay. Now Sukadev Goswami, he advised Parikshit Maharaj that if you have to come out of the fear of samsara, then take up to hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. So Vaidhi Bhakti has been described here. Vaishnav Gaur Prabhu, read from here. Vaishnav Gaur Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, unmute kar raha tha. In the statements of Shukdev Goswami, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. Therefore, Shukdev recommends that one should always hear about Krishna. He does not recommend that one hear and chant about the demigods. The Mayavadis, impersonalists, say that one may chant any name, either that of Krishna or those of the demigods, and the result will be the same. But actually, this is not a fact. According to the authorized version of Srimad Bhagavatam, one has to hear and chant about Lord Vishnu, Krishna only. Continue.
Continue. Two
So
paragraphs
Shukdev
more will be describing this only, Vaidhi Bhakti.
So Shukdev Goswami has recommended to Parikshit Maharaj that in order to be fearless of death, one has to hear and chant and remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, by all means. He also mentions that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sarvatma. Sarvatma means the super soul of everyone. Krishna is also mentioned as Ishvara, the supreme controller who is situated in everyone's heart. Therefore, if some way or other we become attached to Krishna, he will make us free from all danger. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that anyone who becomes a devotee of the Lord is never vanquished. Others, however, are always vanquished. Vanquished means that after getting this human form of life, a person does not come out of the entanglement of birth and death and thus misses his golden opportunity. Such a person does not know where he is being thrown by the laws of nature. Suppose one does not develop Krishna consciousness in this human form of life, he will be thrown into the cycle of birth and death involving 84 lakh species of life, and his spiritual identity will remain lost. One does not know whether he is going to be a plant or a beast or a bird or something like that, because there are so many species of life. The recommendation of Rupa Goswami for reviving our original Krishna consciousness is that somehow or the other we should apply our minds to Krishna very seriously and thus also become fearless of death. After death, we do not know our destination because we are completely under the control of the laws of nature. Only Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is controller over the laws of nature. Therefore, if we take shelter of Krishna seriously, there will be no fear of being thrown back into the cycle of so many species of life. A sincere devotee will surely be transferred to the abode of Krishna as affirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Therefore, if we take shelter of Krishna seriously, there is no fear of being thrown. So the fear of samsara is automatically removed if a person takes up to hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna. Now still it is only called Vaidhi Bhakti because there is a motive of removing the fear of samsara, not the greed for serving Krishna. Now let us see. 8th verse. This verse you have to memorize. This is also a wonderful verse. 5 verses we are already given to memorize. Try to memorize those verses and this now. Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavya najatu chet sarvavidhi nishedasyo retayoreva kinkaraha. Very important verse because all the scriptures boils down to these two principles. Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavya najatu chet. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Any rules and regulations are just subservient to the above two principles. Sarva vidhi nisheda. Vidhi means rules, nisheda means regulations. Sarva vidhi nishedasyo etayoreva kinkaraha. Kinkaraha means servants. Okay. Dayasagar Prabhu, read from here.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. In the Padma Purana, also the same process is advised. There it is said that one should always remember Lord Vishnu. This is called dhyana or meditation, always remembering Krishna. It is said that one has to meditate with his mind fixed upon Vishnu. Padma Purana recommends that one always fix his mind on the form of Vishnu by meditation and not forget him at any moment. And this state of consciousness is called samadhi or trance. We should always try to mold the activities of our lives in such a way that we will constantly remember Vishnu or Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. Whether one concentrates his mind on the four-handed form of Vishnu or on the form of the two-handed Krishna, it is the same. The Padma Purana recommends somehow or other always think of Vishnu without forgetting him under any circumstances. Actually, this is the most basic of all regulative principles. For when there is an order from a scripture about doing something, there is simultaneously a prohibition. When the order is that one should always remember Krishna, the prohibition is that one should never forget him. Without this simple order and prohibition, all regulative principles are found complete.
Okay, here we'll stop. So for today's homework for you is you have to study these all verses, whatever has been given, and today's verse again I'll put Smartavya Satatam Vishnu, Vismartavya Jatuchit, Sarvavidhi Nishedasur, Epayor Eva Kita. These are very important verses. Like we started with Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam, Anukulyena Krishna, Anushilam Bhakti Uttama. Tomorrow I'll ask anyone of you to chant this verse, and someone else can be asked for Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam Rishikesha Sevana Bhakti Ruchate. Then Salokya Shastri Samipya, that verse. Then next verse is Kleshagni Shubhata. That will be the verse. I think another one verse is there. Which was that verse? Let me group. 5 verses I had put. Today will be the 6th verse. Kleshagni Apraraptam Palam Papam Putam Bijam Palunmukham Pramenaiva Pradiyate Vishnu Bhakti Yatatmavan. So memorize these verses. You can memorize one by one. For tomorrow, Anya Vilashita Shunyam. Okay, let me take only one verse tomorrow, or you will be confused. Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadya Navrutam, Anukulyena Krishna, Anushilam Bhakti Uttama. Every one of you will be telling this verse. So memorize for today. Tomorrow, each and every one of you will be chanting this. So stop here. And I know I have taken early rest today. Hare Krishna.